Hi, this time I'm going to be looking at a classic Alan Murphy solo taken from the level 42 track Heaven in My Hands. So let me play it through one time, then we'll pull it apart. Before we get into the analysis, a quick reminder, if you'd like to see a transcription of this or any of my other lines and solos, you'll find a link in the description down below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like and subscribe. So as I mentioned, this solo comes from the track Heaven in My Hands from the level 42 album Staring at the Sun, and is a particularly sort of rocky solo from Alan Murphy. And as a quick disclaimer, the solo, it's a little bit down in the mix, so it's not super clear, so it's kind of hard to pick out some of the real intricacies in there accurately, but hopefully I've got pretty close to what he's doing on this. The solo itself is over a repeating progression of power chords going from G down to F to C to D, and then sitting on that D for 2 bars, so we get this 3, 4. And he's mostly playing around kind of D minor pentatonic kind of ideas. But he starts off with this idea. So we get the progression. Then in the second bar, when it hits that C chord on beat 2, he slides down from D5 to C5. And then on 3 and, he goes back to the D, but bends the tremolo arm down as he plays it, and then gradually brings it back up to pitch. So you get this sort of sound. And he brings it back gradually to pitch, so it reaches back up to its proper pitch when you get to beat 1 of the next bar. It's an interesting one. On first listen, it sounds like he's just doing it all with the tremolo arm. But obviously you can't get the accurate pitching with that, so you listen a bit more closely, and this seems to be what he's doing. Again, I can't say for certain whether he's using these voicings or these voicings, but it sounds to me more like he's playing it around here. It also almost has the sound of kind of a slide guitar thing. And then he repeats that. So we get this sort of sound. 3, 4. And both times as he holds that D chord, it starts feeding back. And I mean, that's hard to do unless you've got like a really loud amp sort of fired up, which I don't at the moment, so apologies for the lack of feedback. But then, second time through with the feedback, he starts to use the whammy bar. So basically on bar 7, he holds that D chord, and then on bar 8, on beats 3 and 4, and then beats 1 and 2 of the next bar, as the note goes into feedback, he actually does the whammy bar to get kind of sound. Then he follows this idea. He moves up to the pentatonic scale, shape 1 of D minor pentatonic scale. Up here around the 10th fret. And on beat 3 of basically bar 9 of the solo, we get this idea. So he starts up here on this high F on the 13th fret. He kind of bends up and down with it, a little kind of quarter bend. I mean, he could be doing this with tremolo arm. or bending it with his fingers. I suspect he's doing it with his fingers, but I can't say for certain. Then he pulls off to the D, goes down to the C on the 13th fret on the B string, then bends up from the G up to the A on the 12th fret of the G string. Then he hits the A on the 10th fret on the B string, but just kind of a slight kind of scoop into it with the tremolo arm. It's quite subtle, but sounds like it's there to me. Hammers on back up to the C. Then goes up to this E, bending up to the F. And back down to the D. If you're wondering where this E comes from, it's our old friend, the minor pentatonic with the 9th added. Which certainly is a real favourite of Alan Murphy's. It's a scale he uses a lot. So yeah, this lick is starting on beat 3. 1 and 2 and... Then he follows this by kind of double stop. I mean, he's going for the F here on the G string, 10th fret. He kind of catches the A as well on the B string, bending it up slightly. Then another sort of double stop bending idea. So we've got classic sort of blues idea. We've got C here on the B string, 13th fret and G, 12th fret and the G string, bending up from the G to the A. And he repeats that. And then brings the bend back down. So that initial bend is on beat 4, bar 10. And he holds that for the first 3 beats of the next bar and then plays exactly the same idea again on beat 4, that's bar 11. And brings it back down to the G on beat 1 of the next bar. Then on beat 2 hits the whammy bar twice. So we get this sound. 2, 3. And slides off it. So this whole opening phrase is this. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So then in bar 13, still staying around this D minor pentatonic shape, slides into this A, the 10th fret B string, and then hits the A and the D together, then hits it again. Although second time round, this A note comes out more strongly than the D, so it sounds to me like possibly he's kind of playing it initially as an upstroke, then a downstroke. And he adds some vibrato with the whammy bar. Slides off it and slides back up to the A. And for the next bar, goes back up to this F note here on the 13th fret. And pulls off to this D, the 10th fret, but it's kind of a ghosted note, or doesn't quite catch it. Doesn't come through very strongly, which sounds nice as a phrasing thing, whether it's deliberate or not, probably not, but sounds cool. Then plays the F a couple of times, and sort of bends up a little bit. Kind of similar to what we did in bar 9. Comes back down to this D and then down to the A. Then, with a little pre-bend, goes down to this G on the 12th fret and the G string, but starting bent up a half step and bringing it back down to the G. And he also catches this A note on the B string, 10th fret. Again, how intentional that is, I don't know. And follows it by bending up from this C up to the D. Here on the 13th fret on the B string. You can play it using your second and third fingers. Or if you're feeling particularly adventurous, you can try it with your third and fourth fingers. Makes the bend a little bit trickier, but fits in with kind of good technique of the rest of it. And then he closes the solo with quite a characteristic run. It's kind of based around an idea you'll hear a lot in Alan Murphy's playing. Again, starting out around this D minor pentatonic with the 9th added. So starting with that bend. Then on beat 2 of the penultimate bar, he goes into this 16th note descending pattern. So he's going from D up to E on the top string, then pulling off from C to A on the B string and going down to the G and the G string. Then carries on the pattern. So this time, going from C, we come down to the A, to the G, to the F, to the D. Then he switches to D major pentatonic, starting on this F sharp, the major third. Going from F sharp down to E, D, down to B, down to A. And incidentally, this whole pattern, what he's doing is he's coming down this pentatonic, or in this case 2 pentatonic scales, in groups of 5 notes. So you see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which is a natural displacement pattern. You know, it sounds like it's starting in a different place each time because it's shifting, whether it's landing on the beat or off the beat. Which again makes it sound less like a pattern. It's a really nice idea. So if you just took this idea straight down the D minor pentatonic scale, you'd get this. Finishing off by landing back on that D. Same thing going up. It's a nice pattern. It's a nice idea. But again, he's switching the notes around. As we said, we start in the pentatonic scale with the 9th added. Then switch to the major pentatonic. D major pentatonic, as we're playing essentially over a D major chord. But then he finishes the phrase by playing these notes. So that's starting on the note E, on the G string, then down to the C and the B on the D string, then A, G, F sharp on the A string, then the E on the bottom string sliding down to the D. These notes come from D mixolydian. So harmonically, it's a really interesting run because he starts off in D minor with the 9th added, then shifts to D major pentatonic, then ends up in D mixolydian. And incidentally, this last couple of notes, when he hits the E, he kind of hangs on it and does a little kind of half bend up and down. Then slides down to the D and at the same time hits the whammy bar. And again, he could be doing the bend with the whammy bar, but I suspect it's not. It sounds to me like it's fingers. Then hangs on that D as it goes back into the chorus. So that's the solo broken down into parts. Let's try putting that all together slowly. I'll start from bar 9 where the single note lines begin. 1, 2. I hope you've enjoyed this look at a classic Alan Murphy guitar solo. That's pretty much it for me, but I'll be back soon with more videos. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like and subscribe. I'm going to close by playing this through at half speed with the backing track and then back up to tempo to finish.